Hello, everyone. My name is Bart, and together with me here's Kuba.
Hi, everyone.
And we're delighted to provide this webinar for you, where we're going to speak about how to whiteboard remotely when there's a need of doing that and substitute flip chart with our devices. We have some answers for you how to actually make that happen over the distance. We're going to cover today two scenarios. One of them is collaborative whiteboarding. There are so many of us today that we will be still showing this to you collaboratively, so please let us know those that would want to collaborate with us. If you'd like to, we'll share the connection link. For others, we're going to provide you with the full demonstration on this webinar. It's recorded. We will share the recording with you so you can follow those steps that we're going to illustrate even after we close.
Right, so this whole session is being recorded. So after we're done editing all the stuff that went wrong, you'll receive a video. And everyone, because we're getting questions from you guys that some of your friends couldn't join because we're over the limit at the moment. We didn't expect that. Sorry about this.
But we're 5 times above the limit.
Yes. So yeah, it's been a crazy week. So so whoever signed up for this webinar will receive a video of this webinar. So no worries, it will be available on our YouTube channel as well later on. So don't worry, you'll get an email with the recording.
And also those that could not participate, there'll be another webinar scheduled soon on this same topic. So I'm sure everyone will have a chance to ask us questions, and we're here for you to explain everything. So let's begin, shall we?
Oh, yes. So, thank you for the questions on the chat. And we'll be getting those questions. If you want to ask a specific question, please use the Q&A section of Zoom. There's a panel down below. You will see the Q&A section there. You can leave your questions in there. And if you have any questions, like, any troubleshooting problems or so with the webinar, you can ask them on the chat and so on and so forth. So I'll be looking at the chat and helping Bart filter the questions while he presents the whole thing. So yeah,
we'll try to go over 2 scenarios today and leave a significant amount of time to answer your questions. Why is it so that we're going to focus on questions primarily today? Because those materials, those information that we're going to provide are actually quite well illustrated in what we've shared recently. So we'll show you where to look for resources on those 2 scenarios that we're going to cover: broadcasting whiteboard over a conferencing solution and the remote group whiteboarding. So if there will be anything that you would need to learn from materials, you'll know where to find them. Yes, so let's think about 2 options. What 2 options we have for substituting, let's say, flip chart with a tablet when there's a need to do that. Currently, what we're providing, what you see on the screen, is a broadcast of the whiteboard that I'm using to illustrate. So we're using our own tool to explain everything. So that's actually the scenario number, let's call it scenario number 1. That is broadcasting the screen of my whiteboard to you over using the bridge, the Zoom bridge here. There is another scenario where no conferencing solution is used, and that's remote group whiteboarding over explain everything. I'll tell you the differences in a second. What is important for us is the question: which of those 2 scenarios is most interesting for you? Number 1 or number 2? If you could give us indication by just putting this 1 number to chat, that would be that would help us to guide you through the process. We'll know what to focus on. But of course, I'll cover both scenarios as best as I can.
So it's about 50-50. actually.
Yeah?
Yeah.
All right.
Both.
It's
Yeah.
a good balance. So let's speak first about broadcasting your whiteboard on a conference call. It is a situation where we use two solutions. We use Explain Everything as a tool for visualizing your thoughts, illustrating materials, drawing concepts, and conferencing solution. One of some of the conferencing solutions you see here is Google Hangouts, Microsoft Teams, Zoom, that is relaying your whiteboard to other participants on the call. So it's a situation where a person uses two pieces of software. Those could be used on one device or two devices. Actually, what you see here, it's us using two devices. I'm using my computer so you can see us, and I'm using my tablet that is connected as a participant to the session just to broadcast my whiteboard. In this second scenario, remote group whiteboarding, it's a bit simpler because you use just one piece of software. It's Explain Everything, where you open sessions so others can connect. Now, what are the differences? So let's think about the scenarios where it makes sense to broadcast or do the group whiteboarding. So from our perspective, it makes sense to think about the scenario number one if you do the informational instructional delivery, or you just transfer information, as we try to now illustrate something that we want to show you. We'll, of course, gather your questions on chat, so there is some back and forth, and we can kind of like have a conversation, but it's not the same thing as having a group session where you solve problem, where you need to draw together in order to express something, dive into details, add additional materials to the same canvas. That's the scenario where we see group whiteboarding being most useful, because it allows everyone to express visually their point of view. Of course, scenario number one is something that is possible to be put into action for, let's say, providing information for hundreds of people like today. In scenario number two, that would be kind of difficult to have 100 creative, let's say, people on one canvas working together. That's why it's advised to be used by smaller groups. So if you look at the comparison that I created here, these are the differences. With broadcast, everyone can watch, but when you do the group whiteboarding, everyone can whiteboard. That means you see the tools that I'm using on the left side. Everyone on the whiteboard, on the collaborative whiteboard, has access to the same set of tools. As I mentioned, broadcast is great for larger groups, and it's up to the limit of your conferencing solution. Those could be even hundreds. With smaller groups, what we observe, it's best to have groups up to 5, 8 people. However, recently we noticed even collaborative whiteboarding done by groups of 10 and 15 or even 20 people, right?
Oh yeah, yeah, we've seen those work. So the performance may vary depending on your device and your connection. So we advise to connect with up to 8 people on a single whiteboard. So if you need to create a separate project, well, if you want more people to work like on a similar thing or the same thing, you can create many more projects and then you know go back and forth between them.
Absolutely. So sometimes with larger groups, when they do let's say design thinking sessions, those that do those sessions execute them in a way that they divide those teams into smaller groups and provide access codes separately to each group. So those groups are not larger than let's say 5 people. And there's a difference in how communication in both scenarios work. So when you think technically what's happening in the scenario number 1, broadcasting, and in scenario number 2, that is remote group whiteboarding, in the first scenario, what is transferred is a set of pixels. This is a stream, a video stream that you see coming from us. But in scenario 2, the collaborative whiteboarding, the way it works is that if I would add something to the canvas to which you would be connected, the same asset is distributed between all of the devices on the session. So what is transferred are not pixels, not a video stream, but rather assets and manipulations, along with voice, of course. So with this scenario, broadcasting, what is transferred is stream of audio and video. With remote whiteboarding, this is audio stream and also manipulations and assets. There is, however, one more difference between both scenarios. Broadcast on a conference call is kind of like session-based. We begin session, and then we close it, and it's over. And perhaps there's a video of the session, as the one we're recording today, for those that couldn't participate. But the session is over, and you cannot participate in it anymore. But collaborative whiteboarding is a bit different because it's project-based. That means what happens is that your whiteboard sits in the cloud. It's a cloud project to which you can connect and disconnect at any time. So even after session is closed, the project is still out there in the cloud for others to access. Do we have any questions to?
Oh yeah, we have a lot of questions.
So maybe let's answer them first, and then
I'm trying to answer as fast as I can. One second, I'll just type one in. They should be there. So stay there. Okay. Yeah. So regarding these differences, I guess. So which one should we go for?
There was a question about early elementary. I guess teaching, using that group scenario for teaching younger students.
Maybe it was in the chat. So
okay.
So I'll try to find it later. But for now, we have two questions regarding the accounts. So Erika asks the question: can both of these scenarios be used with the free version of Explain Everything? So in an essence, yes, though there are some limitations. So in the free version of Explain Everything, you're limited to one project, one slide, and 60 seconds of recording, which means that if you want to go, if you want to prepare more, then you will need a paid version. So that's necessary if you want to create more content. But your students don't have to have a paid account in order for them to join your collaborative session. So they will need one if they want to create something within Explain Everything. But if it's only about joining, then they will be able with a free account. So yeah, that's possible. So, and I think that answers the question. For remote group whiteboarding, is it assumed that each student has an account with Explain EDU? So there were a couple of questions about Explain EDU and Explain Everything Whiteboard. I'll include links to all those resources in the email, but Explain EDU is a standalone app without the cloud features. So you will not be able to create a session inside of Explain EDU. If you want to connect to a cloud session and connect to a cloud project, you need the not the white one, the purple one, Explain Everything Whiteboard. So they do need to have an account, but they can join as guests. But if you want, if you want to see who they are, they need to have an account. If that's not necessary, then they will be able to join your cloud projects created in Explain Everything Whiteboard as guests. So yeah, that's possible. And this is only about the second scenario. So if you want to host a whiteboarding session where people interact with each other and create solve problems, do a whiteboarding session, then yes, they will need explain everything whiteboard app, or they will be able to connect via the browser. Yeah, and so yeah. There's a cool article we made about differences between Explain Everything Whiteboard and Explain EDU. So generally, Explain EDU is a standalone iOS-only app that doesn't have the cloud features. That's only just for your iPad. You can record videos there and create all those funny videos and lessons and so on. But it doesn't have the cloud features. So you won't be able to create cloud videos and connect with many people and create those interactive projects and work on them together. So yeah, hope that answers your question. Yeah, there are more coming, so we'll jump to another section of Bart's presentation, excuse me, and then we'll try to answer more.
Right. If you're interested about differences between both versions that we offer, there is actually a quite interesting video that you can find in our pricing, on our pricing page, that illustrates all the differences between those versions. But basically, if you use the Explain Everything whiteboard, this one, the collaborative whiteboard, allows you to open group collaborations. With EDU, you can join those collaborations, but you could also join collaborations with using any device, including computers. This one allows you to do the group whiteboarding, but you could actually broadcast your whiteboard, as I do here, using both of those versions.
Right, so that answers the question from Jake. Is there any way to live stream Explain EDU from an iPad? Yes, it's exactly the same workflow. So if you have Explain Everything just for you, Explain EDU just for you, and you have iOS device and want to broadcast, you do the same thing. It works exactly the same. So so Explain EDU covers the left side of the first scenario. Yeah, it works.
Absolutely. So it might be also interesting for you what kind of devices are recommended when using whiteboard and whiteboarding at a distance, remote whiteboarding. So what we suggest is to use a device that has multi-touch screen. And it could be actually any device coming from Google or Apple. The screen real estate matters. That's why we recommend larger screens like you see here. Here's an iPad. That's a Chromebook, that's an Android device. If it's a device that allows for pencil or stylus input, that's great, because Explain Everything is actually designed for multi-touch input and pencil input, because you'll see how easy it is to use both inputs when you draw and manipulate objects at the same time. Yeah, we believe this is the tool to go if you want to feel that you can do what you did on a flip chart or chalkboard in a digital world. But computers are okay too. So as you see on this screen, if you open the group collaboration, you can actually ask users to join with their computers, although it's not so convenient when they want to express something with drawings. They can type, they can input documents, that works great. But in terms of drawing, if the computer does not have multi-touch screen, then it might be a bit difficult for them, at least in this scenario of remote group whiteboarding.
Oh, do you folks see us? Because I think 1 minute ago, Susan said that the screen went blank.
Okay, let us know if you can still see what I'm showing on my whiteboard.
Okay, yeah. So okay, it may be just a connection issue. Okay, thank you.
Great. So I mentioned that we have a lot of resources on those two scenarios. So before going step by step how to put those scenarios in action, how to use them, let me show you 3 three resources that we have. We just released, and that was actually yesterday, a very interesting post on remote whiteboarding tips for creative group thinking. So we highly suggest for you to go to our blog page, that's explaineverything.com/blog. And there you'll see this article. Within this article, you'll find a video that illustrates step by step what we're showing today. It might be helpful for you to get things off the ground. There are, however, two playlists on YouTube that I call to your attention. First one is Explain Everything Essentials, where we go through basics of whiteboarding and group sessions as well. So it's like a step-by-step guide how you can approach whiteboards and try to implement implement it in various scenarios, including recording. We're not going to cover recording today. You mentioned the recording when speaking about limits of this free version. If you want to learn about powerful feature of recording that is in Explain Everything, that's the resource for you. In a video number 5 and 6, we're actually covering group collaboration, and we're showing how it works for both participants. So there's this camera showing 2 iPads of ours. We have a conversation about materials on a canvas. And it's quite interesting to watch what you can do with digital whiteboard in such a setting. If you're more interested about the scenario of broadcasting your whiteboard over Zoom call, Teams, or other conferencing solution, Better Online Meetings playlist is more suitable for you, because it speaks directly about use of whiteboard in this scenario. And there you'll find 9 videos that covers basically step-by-step how you can use visuals, why visuals are powerful when discussing complex problems, and how you can broadcast your whiteboard in various situations using Google devices, using Apple devices, or even computers.
So can we try switching on and off the screen sharing? Because it might, for some people, it might be Zoom, it might be
okay, sure,
the screen.
So I'll broadcast again,
and we'll see if that fixes the problem, because some of you still can see us.
Hope my whiteboard is now visible for you.
Okay, it seemed to work. Okay,
fantastic.
Thank you.
So those are the 3 resources. Kuba, is there anything else you think we should recommend, judging the questions that you receive?
Well, yeah. Well, there's a lot of stuff on our YouTube channel. So we've covered a lot about how Explain Everything works in our past webinars. So you might want to look at these. They have timestamps, so
yes.
So you'll be able to find the part that interests you. And there are so many things that you can do with Explain Everything. Today we are focusing on the on sharing your screen in one scenario and then joining a collaborative session.
So that's current webinar. That's today. That's tomorrow. We do have a session especially on speaking precisely about remote learning and teaching. We will have a webinar on Chromebooks use for teaching, but when you look at those past webinars here, there are links, like for example, here, there are links included, and by those links you can easily go to YouTube and watch recording of those webinars, including Peek into the Future, where we discussed what's coming to Explain Everything, or even illustrated surprising ways of using digital whiteboards.
If you want to go crazy with Explain Everything, you should watch this one.
Yeah, it is a bit crazy. Yes, you're right. Getting back to our two scenarios. Question is how to make them work. So since I already covered that we do have quite precise and detailed instructions, video instructions, what I did to take you step by step is that I took screenshots of those videos to illustrate in the simplest way the steps that are needed in order to implement those scenarios. So let's speak first about this one, broadcasting your whiteboard on a conference call. And we'll look at Better Online Meetings training on YouTube here. It's quite easy to start it from iPad. All you do is you press, in the top right, you'll find this button that is a share button, and you have this option to broadcast here. This option now, as you see when I tap it, is on. I'm broadcasting through Zoom here, and that's why you see my whiteboard. But if you have more conferencing solution on your tablet, you'll see a whole list of those. So what you need to do in order to start broadcast is to connect your tablet to the conference call and start broadcast that way. That's all you have to do. That's how you choose your conferencing solution. There is, however, one difference between platforms. On Android devices, you need to start screen broadcasting from the conferencing solution. So if you're in Zoom, there's an option to begin screen broadcasting. You start it from Zoom, and then you can come back to explain everything. And the entire screen of your Chromebook is going to be broadcasted. Here's the setup. If you want to use two devices instead of just tablet, when you broadcast from tablets, it's good to know that you won't be able to broadcast your whiteboard together with the video stream of you speaking. If you want to do that, it's best to use two devices. So you have this situation. You have a whiteboard visible to everyone and this overlay with participants. Why is it possible? Because Sam, when demonstrating that, used computer to connect himself for the video stream. That's the front camera of his computer. And he shared whiteboard on a call from a tablet. And that's the best way to do it. And that's actually the way we do it today. And we covered in this scenario one more option. Some of you don't use tablets. And that's okay, because you can run Explain Everything in a browser. The limits of that are that in a browser, you can only run Explain Everything online. With tablet, you can run offline. You can start it and use it offline anywhere you want. But obviously, if you're broadcasting, you're already online. So you can start Explain Everything in the browser. And then if you want to broadcast your whiteboard, you can do that. But within your conferencing solution, you need to select the window where you have your whiteboard. So that's exactly this situation. That's where Zoom was used, and what was chosen here was window where whiteboard was available. Before we go to the steps that are needed to execute the second scenario, let me pause for questions real quick.
When you say, or asks, when you say connect iPad to computer, do you mean remotely? So there are a couple of ways you can do that. You can either use a remote connection. So you just, say if you have is it app through an Apple TV? No, how do you do? Sorry.
Well, I usually don't even connect my iPad to the computer. So as you see, I'm untethered here, and I just used Zoom app on my iPad to connect to the session.
Right.
And that's the easiest way you can do it. That means actually you're participating in a session from two devices. That's why you're visible as two distinct participants. But that's okay. You can connect your tablets to the computer and broadcast what is on your tablet within a computer window on the desktop, but that's more complicated. I would not advise that. There are some things you would have to know in this scenario that we don't want to dive into, because one thing that you would have to notice is that, for example, Explain Everything records audio, right? And the audio would be transmitted to your computer, and then how do you handle it with the conferencing solution? Make it simple. Just connect to the call from your device and use screen sharing directly from your device.
Right, and in Zoom, at least, it allows you to connect from different devices, so it's not a problem. I'm not sure about the other conferencing solutions, but Zoom, yeah.
Oh, you can. Yeah. Absolutely. It works great on Teams. It works great also on Google's Hangouts. We use it all the time that way.
Right. So yeah. So and another question is: so Zoom, there on Zoom, there is a way to share your iPad screen. Yes, you do if depending on the device from which you are connecting from, right? Because if you're on a tablet or a Chromebook, you just launch the Zoom app and then select share screen and then select explain everything, and that's it.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's the easiest way.
One thing to notice is that sometimes with those conferencing solutions, there is a delay between what you do on the tablet and what is visible for the participants. It's usually very small, like 1-2 seconds, but it happened to us with some solutions that it was like significant, like 15 seconds. So just check it out before your very important session. What's the delay? And it might be of the processing power, it might be of the connection, but then you have to troubleshoot that. I'm just telling you that's just in case, check it out, so there's no confusion where you're providing your illustrations, visual illustrations, because others will be able to follow you if there is no delay.
So there's another questions related to that. So you need 2 devices for broadcasting if you want your video headshot. Yes, though I think you can kind of overcome that by adding a live video to your presentation, right?
Well, you could. I mean, basically.
So that will answer another question from Carl. Hello, Carl. Great to see you again. Thank you for coming. Yeah. So, yeah, since we are sharing our screen and our camera, now it says the video capture is unavailable. But yeah.
Sometimes it works over some solutions, so you can. What I did, but it does not work now with this setup, is that I can add new video here, and it actually captures footage from tablet's camera, but it's not working in this scenario. So potentially you could, but it's not something we advise. If you need to have like a professional setting, it's best to use the devices and leave tablet just for whiteboarding. There's one more hint. When you do the screen broadcasting of your tablet screen, everyone will see the tools that you're using. You can overcome that by minimizing a set of tools that is visible for the participants, and you can do this with this button. We have different set of tools, and there's this presenter mode. If you turn it on, you can basically move around the canvas, move objects, and draw with different colors on top of those objects. You're limited. Of course, you have highlighter, laser pointer, with different styles of laser pointer. So you're limited to those tools, but they're not taking so much space as with this full featured layout.
Okay, so when Danielle asks, when broadcasting, does it automatically record so you can edit and to share with others who did not to get view the video? So yeah, Zoom allows. It all depends on the conferencing software you use. If we were talking about the first scenario, right? So we are recording this particular session. We're having a webinar in Zoom. That's all handled by them, and it's being recorded. So that allows for it allows you to record the whole session.
But we're using Zoom's recording instead of recording in Explain Everything. That works differently.
Yeah, we'll cover that in a second because there's another question for that. Yeah. Okay. Okay, I think we can move to the second one.
Okay, so, and we'll come back to the recording, how it works and explain everything in a second. So let me tell you how to put this scenario, how to work with this scenario, how to make it work. What you need to do is to basically open your canvas for collaboration. So what I'm using now is a project that sits on my device. This is a local project, I'm just sharing my screen. But what I can do is to tap invite here and open this project for others to join. And what essentially happens is that this project is pushed to the cloud and it becomes available under the code. And we'll share the code with those that want to join us today. There's a limit of 20 participants and it's going to be a bit unstructured, but that's okay. If you like to play with the contents that we have, that's fine, you can go ahead. So I just switched from my project that I had on my tablet to the cloud project. And this project is available using link, using code that is visible here. Oh, hi, Karl-Heinz. We see a list of participants on the right side, right? That's the code that can be used to join the project. And the difference now is that everyone can have a different perspective of the materials that I'm sharing. So basically what is possible is illustrated on this screen. So there are here 2 participants on the same call having a different perspective because they use the scale tool and they can zoom in or zoom out the different parts of the canvas. And now someone is using materials that I'm illustrating, but that's okay. That's the nature of collaborative whiteboarding. We don't limit the set of tools that is used by participants. So when we see collaborative whiteboards being used for the first time by, let's say, young students, first what they do is they play around.
Well, it's a great moment to answer a question from Robin, who asks, for the smaller group version, can I turn on off the ability for the students to be able to write on the board? Well, yes.
Yeah, yes.
It's possible. And we can show you how. And we will, well, since some of you join, those people who join will not be able to edit once we do that. So you'll see that things will stop moving around.
Yes. So let me show you how to do that. I'll just clean up the screen a bit. Okay. So when you press invite here, you'll see permissions that says here, anyone with the link can edit. I can change that to anyone with the link can view, and this will take tools from anyone. I mean, they will have still ability to move around the canvas with the scale tool, but no ability to draw. Because those tools that you see here on the left side, those tools, will disappear. Of course, during the session, we don't want to do that, so I'll provide you again with the set of tools that you had. And let's move to another question.
So, okay, is there a way to remove names to make the screen cleaner? Do you mean on the right-hand side of the screen, or do you mean like next to the tools? Because, yeah, because you can tap on the collaboration icon there, and they will just disappear. Yeah, that's one way of doing that.
Mm-hmm.
So, and there are people who are asking how to join with code. So
very good question. So if you see here, here's a, oh, not here, sorry. So here's a code, and this code could be used in basically few ways. If you're on Explain Everything, there's a search bar, there's a search field where you can put in this code. You can also, if you're not using Explain Everything at the moment, you can go to your browser and, oh, let me type it here. Use expo.ai. That's the domain, that's the short domain that we use. and the code. So if you put in the code here, that's the connection link that you can share it with others to join. But it can also go to explain everything, to our website, and say, hey, join us on Explain Everything. And this is a mobile version. That's why I had to expand this. There is this field, enter code. You can see it here. If you put the code here, you would also connect, but with your browser, of course. So those are the three options. You can use the shortcode, you can use this field on our website, or with tablet, if you already have Explain Everything, you can just put in the code to connect.
Right, and once you tap on the invite button, there's a option to just copy the code or link. So if you tap on the invite, can we do that? Yeah.
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 Of course, yes, you're right.
There are those options, so we can share those codes or copy the join code and share that way, right?
The best thing about it is that now if you want to ask us questions, you can put them to the canvas as well. You don't need to use chat. You can put Explain Everything to work. And we'll try to illustrate the answers using our canvas. So let's use remaining of our time to answer as many questions as we can.
Yeah. So let's start with that, because there are a lot of them. Let's start with the first one, related to, can I share various projects at the same time? For example, in a breakout rooms for Zoom, I could give a different project to each group. So yes, this is possible, but your students will need to have Explain Everything accounts in order to do that, because once you set up a cloud project and a person without a, well, the owner of the project needs to be in the project if you want other users without Explain Everything accounts to join them. So they will have to have Explain Everything license in order to join the project.
That's an important limitation. So if you have a registered user, he or she can start project or join project at any moment of time. But that's what a registered user can do. Unregistered user, free user, can only join projects that are live.
Yep.
So if there's a project, let's say, waiting in the cloud and there's no host or no registered user, free user can only wait for them to join so they can follow.
Okay. What changed to get the double mix going? How do you get rid of that echo?
I see, because I never muted my microphone here.
No, I think it worked okay. I've
Okay,
checked it sometime.
All right.
Right? Yeah.
Okay.
It seems to be working. Oh, so you mean in Explain Everything? Were we muted in the project? I think so.
So some participants speak with you on Explain Everything now?
Because we are muted in the project, right? Yeah.
Yes, we are muted. Okay.
So it may be because I might have misunderstood your question. There are a couple of instances where echo will be present. So if you go with the compound scenario, so when you want to both live broadcast and have people joining in to your session, you'll need to choose which audio you want to use, right? So I would stick to the broadcasting audio and mute the audio and Explain Everything. So that way you'll be able to just talk freely without echo. And I think still the devices block the audio of well, since we are using audio here, we wouldn't be able to use audio on an iPad like the second time, right? So that's the thing. And there could be an echo coming from using recording the stuff 2 times. So Well, I'm trying to figure out if we should go through this, but yeah.
I guess, the most important thing is to realize that you can have audio stream going through your conferencing solution and through Explain Everything at the same time. This could cause echo. So if you see here on the top of my screen, I'm actually muted on Explain Everything. And I also decreased volume. If any one of the participants will not be muted, we see on the right side they're all muted. That's great. But if they would not be muted, we would have like this echo problem through Explain Everything. Just keep in mind you have two audio streams. If you're not muted on one solution, it might cause problems.
Right. Nadine asks, so my teachers with subscription can let students without subscription join their session? Yes, they can join your sessions while you're in them, right? So you need to be in the session in order for your students without the subscription to join. That's the basic rule. Okay, so that's that. Will the free version of Zoom be enough, or do I need to subscribe for one of their paid plans? I'm not sure. Depending if you want to record the sessions with your students and then share them.
Yeah.
Because if you want to do that, I think that's a paid feature, and if you don't, I'm not sure really. What are the exact limitations of all those conferencing software?
They vary, but please check with the provider. But you can still use many features from one or other solution. If you're using both Explain Everything and conferencing solution, you can, like, let's say, think about recording in Zoom, as you mentioned, or recording Explain Everything. It might be also a good moment now to speak a bit about the difference between recording on conferencing solution and recording on Explain Everything. As I just noticed that one participant started recording on Explain Everything. We have 6 seconds of recording. There's not much in that recording, but let me just tell you about the difference. When Zoom records this session, Zoom captures frame by frame what was going on the session. Explain Everything works in a different way. It captures movements, it captures manipulations and audio. That means with Explain Everything recording, even done collaboratively, because it works the same way, it will capture everything that happened on the session, so you can repurpose that, polish, add to it, improve before rendering that as a video. So with Zoom recording, you immediately have a video. With Explain Everything, you can still improve the end result, layering additional visuals or manipulations. So it's more like animation kind of video before you push it out. So what we suggest to use Explain Everything video for is, let's say, a quick video summary of what happened on a session. You had a great brainstorming session. Use Explain Everything video to capture your summary, what has changed, what you worked on, what's the result, and then you can, with this tab here, with this share button, create web video link. That means Explain Everything will render video and provide a separate link to watch only the video stream of what you recorded on your canvas. And then you can, if there's the session, as we mentioned, with Explain Everything, you keep this session as project. You can come back to project and have another session on the project. And then after this, let's say, second session, you can create another recording and push it out as second web video link. So you can have a project and basically set of videos linked to that project that are, let's say, your summary. So it's up to you how you want to use this feature. It's usually used for creating explainer videos for just one person using Whiteboard, but it also makes sense in this, that's great, in this brainstorm scenario, just to capture the moments that are essential in a form of a video.
Right, or create a summary. So Jeff asked, please repeat where to find these resources. So we'll send we'll send those resources, the links with those resources in the email with the video. So no worries. Our YouTube channel and our webinars subpage on explaineverything.com. These are the two places where you can find most resources regarding how Explain Everything works, and Explain Everything Help Center as well.
Let me just display those resources one more time if you would like to check them out now. Okay.
All right. What is the stealth mode? That's our favorite questions.
Yes, it's something that will disappear soon. So, because it's a complex topic of main view and this kind of like a ninja mode that we're using now, which is called also stealth mode. So if you look here on the bottom left of my screen, I'm using a ninja mode to change my perspective without messing up with any other's perspective.
Dana says, no, I love stealth mode. So no worries.
Don't worry, it's not going to disappear. It's going to just easier to use.
Yeah, because as you see on the interface on the bottom, it takes a lot of space, and we don't want it to take a lot of space. We want to have less buttons in the interface. So
there'll be just one instead of those 4 buttons.
It's going to be much easier to move around.
And we actually covered that when speaking about future of Explain Everything. So if you check our webinars and the Speak into the Future that we broadcasted in December, we speak about new Zoom tool and improvements in camera movement. So there's everything you need to know about what's coming.
Yeah, it's going to be easier, we promise.
Yes, it's going to be better.
There's one dumb question, but I tried to. I'm not saying it's a dumb question. It's a part of the question. It's part of the question. Sorry. But I tried to add in text and it didn't work. I just got a black box. That seems like a bug. But let's try it and see.
I'm adding the text object, and if I don't type in anything and we'll just use the hand tool, what stays is a kind of like a empty text box. I can, by a single tap, open it up again and type what I need.
Maybe the colors are black and like the,
maybe.
So what happens if you edit text and then change the color of a background
to
black? Like,
okay.
Oh, there you go. So it might be this. So it might be that your background color, the fill color, is the same as the font color.
So that's the situation here.
And that's the situation here. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So you might want to check if the background color, the fill color down below is different than the text color.
Here you can switch between the fill color of the text box and the color of the letters.
Are you guys tweaking as we speak? I'm not sure. I'll see if
there might be another team member of ours tweeting, right?
Yeah, or maybe something else.
Okay.
Say that when I'm using no, we're not. We're just, we like to do that. All right. That was a great question. Oh, where are you testing if we're gonna read it live? Yeah, okay. Using an iPad, the stylus pen continually switches from marker to eraser on its own. Is there a way to prevent this either in EE or with the stylus pen settings? Yeah, so it might be because, like, as you see, Bart taps on the Apple Pencil and then it switches from the eraser. Not sure how to disable it, to be honest. Do you know, Bart?
I don't. I guess there might be a setting for this, as we have a lot of settings. We'll check it out and come back with answer. Yes. And if there's no setting, would you want another one in settings, since we have like tons of them? But this is like because of that, right? With new pencils, you have this ability to switch back and forth between eraser and the pen tool. The same with highlighter.
All right. I want my students to show me their work on a PDF and send it back to me.
So that's a question about how to export what you have on a canvas in form of a PDF. Is that it?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Because you can, yeah, on Explain Everything apps, mobile apps, so for Chromebooks, Android devices, and iPads, you are able to export your project as PDFs. So that's possible.
Doing that. So you press export here. I would have to leave this project because it's a cloud project and it's ongoing, but there you have an option to export the document. It basically renders PDF. When it renders PDFs, it adjusts quality of that PDF. So if it's a huge canvas as this one, it would try to adjust the PDF resolution to capture the details of the canvas. So just make sure to understand why the PDFs sometimes are large, because Explain Everything tries to adjust the resolution so everything is visible even on the large canvas if it's exported as a document.
Right. You might want to stick to just Explain Everything projects. That works as well. They will be able to just send you the link to their project, and you'll be able to see exactly and move around if you don't want to. But if you want to use PDFs, that's also fine.
I love what's happening here on the canvas. I love watching you trying different things. Although I'm going to hide participants because of the GDPR. Sorry.
Well. We don't show emails though. All right, so we're gonna edit this out. Don't worry.
Yeah. We can blur the right side.
So there's a question from Remy. Can I unmute participants? So we're actually developing the more ability to control what's happening on the screen and so on and so forth. We hinted at that in our previous webinar. So currently, no. But yeah, it will be possible.
So I'll show you where to look for answers. So if you go to explaineverything.com/webinars, that's the webinar you would want to look into. Peek into the future.
Right, and you can disable voice chat account-wide for your group accounts. So that's possible if you don't want to use chat at all.
But the controls to control the experience on the participants' end are going to be implemented quite soon. They're already. They're just waiting to be rolled out in one of the upcoming versions.
All right. Is there a mathematical notation support for typing instead of drawing them? So we do have a equations editor, so-called.
Yes.
So this is available from the Insert Media menu. You are able to just insert equations like that. It's a bit tricky to use, but it covers what you're looking for.
But also you can use multiple solutions that are web-based, like Smos, if I remember correctly, where you can use graphs and then have them on the canvas of Explain Everything, like this, for example. And then if you're using, let's say, other tool, web tool, as here with Desmos, you can use the cutout tool to bring piece of the window to Explain Everything canvas. So you have the situation where you're using browser with a solution that is live in the browser, and you can you can replicate parts of what is in the browser as additional object to Explain Everything.
Right. Just keep in mind that browsers won't work in cloud projects. They will work if you're broadcasting your Explain Everything screen, but they won't if you share it as a cloud project.
So much happening on this canvas.
Sorry, I missed where the Insert Media was. So Insert Media is at the top left, like the top button on the toolbar.
Yes.
That's where you can insert everything that's possible to insert inside of Explain Everything. So clip art, images, text, browsers, equations, A lot of things.
And just also keep in mind that you can drag and drop objects to explain everything. You can use this feature when having a window, let's say aside of explain everything, or even when using explain everything in a web browser on a computer, it also works. So you can drop PDF or image to the canvas of explain everything with simple drag and drop.
So getting back to the basic questions from Robin, so broadcasts cannot be revisited, but projects can. Well, yes.
Yes.
Yeah, well, if you record, like if you have a premium Zoom account, you are able to record your broadcast, and that's how you do that. But this will be a video, right? Whereas in Explain Everything, if you have a session where you're whiteboarding together, it will stay there, so you can get back to that and see what happened and how it happened. So that's how it works. So that's the advantage of a cloud project in Explain Everything. All right. So it is kind of similar questions. Robin asks, can it be recorded for students to go back to? Right, yeah. Well, there are a couple ways that we haven't talked about much, but you can, like Bart mentioned previously, you can even record the whole session, but we don't recommend that. Say, if you record for 45 minutes and Explain Everything, it's going to be a huge file. And it's possible. You can try it. Though what we recommend is to create like snapshots, like shorter recordings. You can record a video inside of the Explain Everything and then export it as a web link to your students. So that kind of answers some of the questions that I've seen in the chat too. You can even say you're whiteboarding together, right? And then you think, well, you came to a certain conclusion and you want to summarize that. So you just press record, summarize what you've learned or what you've said, and in a couple of sentences, create a short video summary and then send it to your students, so they can go back to. But still, there's a the cloud project is still there, so they can just turn it back on and see what was there. So yeah.
It happened to me the other day when I missed our meeting that took place on the canvas of our tool. Of course, we use our tool for ourselves. So that was the situation when there was a time change and I just messed up the hours. And my colleagues left recording on the canvas for me. So they basically went through what they discussed and what's the end result and where should I add to it. So I basically listened to the recording and I did my stuff on the canvas, and the work was done. So that's how you can do it. You can leave the recording on the canvas for others to listen to.
We'll go for a couple more minutes answering questions.
Sure.
So Anna asked, wait, what? Where did the equation editor come from? Do I need to upgrade an account? I don't see the equation editor option. So the equation editor is available in Explain Everything for iPad, and I think Explain Everything for Android too, or Chromebook. So I assume you are on the web version, which doesn't feature the editor.
So there are a few limitations, like for example, in web browser, on web version of Explain Everything, it's hard to add a browser inside of browser. And with equation editor, that's the other limitation. We actually have a good coverage of those differences between versions. So if you go to our help center, you'll find the article that lists exactly what differs between versions of Explain Everything: the Android, iOS, and web version.
All right. So Owen asks, sorry, I just dialed from Australia. When collaborating, can the presenter stop others from being able to write on the whiteboard? Yes, we've covered that in the previous section. What you do, you just change the permissions of the project to can view, or can view and download. That also works. So this will disable toolbars from other users. That's how you can do it. And if you invited them via email, you'll be able to set permissions separately for each one of them. Okay, let's.
Oh, we have a lot of questions.
Yeah, 6. So
we're doing good. 42 answered.
Paging back and forth between two panels will reset them to the full size. They used to stick to the size which I shrunk them before. Is there a way or work around with the current version? So you mean slides, I assume, George asks. Paging back and forth between two panels. So I assume these are the slides. So I think the zoom level resets, right? Can we check that if that works? Because we are on a single slide right now, right? So we'll try to add a new slide and then move to another one and then go back.
So that's the second slide, okay.
Yep.
And then we go back.
Right, but you've used Zoom,
Yes.
Ninja Zoom, right? So let's try it out on the different.
That's the main zoom.
And then, oh yeah.
Because that's the main zoom that I set. So now I'm changing, if someone is using, if someone is not using Ninja, I'm just moving the perspective for everyone. So that's the perspective I have. That's the perspective. I'm not using Ninja mode. And then I come back to the same
so just, George, just make sure you're not in the stealth mode. So that, this should get rid of the problem. And if it's still there, just get back to us and we'll try to replicate it. If it would seem like a bug, but.
Remember that if you're using recording, don't use stealth mode, because what is captured is what is visible outside of stealth mode. So this Ninja guy has to be pressed off. And that's the view that will be captured on the resulting video if you use recording.
All right, that's more of a request. Sometimes I find difficulty to export my projects to video file. I mean, it takes so long.
And that's why we made it so that you can create this web video link. So we take this heavy load that is necessary to render video to the cloud, and you render the video for you instantly. So we've explained everything EDU here that would not work because it's not supported by the cloud features, but explain everything Whiteboard here is supported by those cloud features. So try to web video link and you'll see how easier it is. It just pushes your project to the cloud, and what returns is an email with the link where you video plays.
Right, and if it's a huge project, please remember that this has to upload to the cloud. So it all depends on the speed of your connection. Yeah.
And of course, it takes a moment if it's a huge project to convert even in the cloud. We do have a good hardware behind the service, but still it might take a minute or two or even a few minutes.
So there's a question about really wanting to use platform to communicate with students live. So we've covered that in the previous section. So you'll get the video and you will be able to see how to do that. And we'll also provide more resources to look into after this webinar. You'll receive an email this week.
However, if you're interested in using Explain Everything to learn your students in those two scenarios, or even learn remotely using videos, this is something we're covering tomorrow. So there's a separate webinar. We're going to go through the scenarios and use cases that are precisely for teachers and for the use in remote teaching.
Or I think we've answered this one. Can both of these scenarios will be used? Yeah, with the free version of Explain Everything. Yeah, okay, we've answered that one. How many coders are regularly working on Explain Everything? How many of us is there?
30 plus, I would say.
30 something, yeah.
Yes. So we have teams that cover quite a lot of ground in terms of different technologies, and there are subsets of technologies that are developed once, like engine for all of the versions of Explain Everything, and there are teams that are dedicated to the platform. So over 30 people all of the time are working for you, so you have a good experience.
I love the drag and drop feature. Plan to use it with PDFs on Google Drive. Glad we like it, yeah.
Please share your experiences with us.
So City asks, can I use this with Google Classroom? Yes,
absolutely.
And we had a special webinar on that, and it's available on our YouTube channel. Please check it out if you want to learn more how to use Explain Everything with Google Classroom. We had some hiccups there, but don't worry.
There's going to be another one in a week, I guess, that will specifically provide you illustrations how to use Google Classroom with Explain Everything, because the synergy is great. Google Classroom is good to move the materials back and forth and provide a structure to your learning. Explain Everything allows students to express themselves, do the homework and assignments. So if you go to webinars, there is session planned. Let me check it for you here. So that's March 25th, where we'll cover Chromebooks, Google Classroom, and Explain Everything.
Right. All schools are closed here in Wisconsin, by the way, trying to do virtually learning. That's why we're here today too. Yeah. In Poland it's the same. So yeah,
it's almost everywhere now.
Yeah.
Yes. So we're trying to be as helpful as we can there. If you look for instructions and suggestions on scenarios, how to provide remote teaching and allow students to learn online, please go to our blog and you'll see the tips on whiteboarding for creative groups. That's what we covered today, but also here you find few resources that you might find interesting, like this one or this one. And actually, webinar that we're going to provide tomorrow is going to be all around those 3 collaborative strategies for online education.
Right. It will kind of overlap with what we were talking about today, but yeah.
Just a bit. We'll provide very specific examples tomorrow, illustrating each of those strategies in practice.
Right. Tiffany asks, when communicating with students live, the audio is hard to hear on both ends, even if the volume is turned all the way up.
Yeah. I wonder why.
Because our testing we haven't really heard that before, to be honest. It might be the amount of people inside of a project might affect that, because there's a lot of, we recommend up to 8 people whiteboarding at the same time. If you want to use Explain Everything for teaching without the interactive mode, then use a conference software, share your Explain Everything screen, and do it that way. This will ensure that the bandwidth, because when you're in an Explain Everything project, you're sending data that consists of, I've moved this one, this person moved that person moved this, and so on and so forth, and it all happens at the same time, and it might affect the quality of the collaboration when there are too many people. So this might be it. I'm not really sure, to be honest, and I would have to look into it.
So that's the situation that you're illustrating, right? A lot of people within one session, and then when one person talks, audio is transmitted to everyone, right?
Yeah.
And back, and this is that's the situation. So we don't suggest using Explain Everything to provide instructions in this scenario. Rather, have this scenario for the group setting where you have groups of students working on a problem, and we suggest to have groups up to 8 people. It's okay to connect with larger number of participants, but it makes most sense to provide them with means to express and discuss topics when the groups are small. For lecturing, that's the scenario for you, and we actually started today with this one.
Yeah, so I assume it might be caused by the connection quality too. Because is there a way to fix the audio so that there isn't a long lag between when I talk and when students hear my voice? So yeah, that could be the same thing. So Explain Everything is not really optimized for large group audio conferencing. That's why we recommend to use a different software, at least for now. Well, we'll get there hopefully to make it work better. But the interactive nature of Explain Everything Whiteboard, it has its own limits because how it works. So that's why if you want to broadcast your screen, your whiteboard, you can do that.
With this first scenario here.
Yeah, with the first scenario. So yeah, if you don't have the same problem within the conferencing software, just share your iPad, Chromebook screen with Explain Everything on it.
It works actually great. So as you see now, we have a lot of participants. We're sharing our screen. We can provide instructions as we go. And this is actually what we're doing here. Some of you are connected. So the session that we're having is kind of like a blended session, because we're broadcasting our whiteboard and we have some participants collaborating with us. So this is exactly the situation here. Both scenarios use at the same time.
All right, so there's another question. Okay, we'll go for like 5 more minutes, I guess, or we can stay here. But I see that people are disconnecting. So let's go over the last few questions, and we'll call it a day since it's 9 p.m. here in Poland. Does Explain Everything also work with Seesaw? So we've heard from people using both Seesaw and Explain Everything that they are using it in a way that, well, let me check, because I don't want to say something that they create videos in Explain Everything and then share them in Seesaw. So you create a web video link and Explain Everything and then share it to Seesaw so that the portfolio can be built in there. And yeah, we're seeing that so-called app smash used by many teachers now. So I'm not, I don't know the specifics of that particular scenario, but yeah, if you look at our Twitter, I think we've retweeted some of them. So we'll see if that's something that we'll cover in the future. But yeah, people use it that way. So we know that people use it. Smash, Explain Everything, and Seesaw. So yeah, what you do is you just export a link and then, or a video file, and then send it to Seesaw. Is it possible to project EE on a second screen? I'm in Stunt Mode, but the second screen shows that inside the main screen, and share the second screen in Zoom. When I share the second screen from Zoom, it shows through HDMI 1, while Explain Everything connects to that screen through HDMI 2.
Oh, that's a complicated scenario altogether.
Yeah, I can see why you're trying to do that.
Well, sometimes we use a similar setup where when we try to use Explain Everything connected with a cable to, or even remotely through AirPlay.
Yeah.
Yes, through AirPlay. And we usually use that in order to have Explain Everything display to the second monitor without tools, when we provide instructions without tools. But as we suggested at the very beginning, just keep it simple when you're broadcasting in this first scenario here, and just don't worry about the tools. Just try to hide them like this using this presenter mode, and don't worry that those are visible. So you can think of many different setups of how to broadcast Explain Everything to a second screen, and there's actually this mode that is possible then. I'll show you here in the settings that when broadcasting to the second screen, you have this external screen mode where you can mirror.
Yeah, that's what George is asking.
Yes,
because once he connects to the second screen, the notifications appear, and then because I think what you're trying to do is that, and correct me if I'm wrong, to share the toolbar-less version of Explain Everything to Zoom.
That's what I think, yeah.
And I'm not sure whether that's possible. You would
it
have
worked
to
at some point, and there was an update to Zoom that it's not working anymore. But we could broadcast as a second screen, but it's not something you could reliably replicate. So we would not suggest to do that. Rather, just minimize number of your tools that are visible by using the presenter mode.
All right, Tiffany says, I've connected with a group of 4 and there's still a long lag between my voice and students' keyboard. Well, that might be due to the connection.
It might be, but if you share the code to the session with us, just try to email support and share the code. We can diagnose by the information we have about the session, we can diagnose what the problem was. And by this, we can suggest what can be done. So please use support at Explain Everything, and we're happy to provide you with instructions what to do in order to avoid those problems.
Please keep in mind that we are currently overwhelmed a little bit with the requests, hence that the waiting time might be a little bit longer than usual.
We'll try to do our best, though.
So the question is there a way to make entire background transparent? The question is, why would you want to do that?
Just overlay, Explain Everything over
something
else.
Okay.
It could be technically done.
Yeah, but that's like a huge workaround. I think we could cover that in a separate video because that would take us
that's
a
a
little bit
scenario
time.
in itself. We can do this. Yeah, let's go crazy next time.
Yeah, we'll try to come up with the answer and then see if that's doable. I think yes, but you would have to like if that's what you're looking for.
At least 2 times. I noticed this request at least 2 times. So it might be something that we'll work on.
I actually did that, but in a different software. I used streaming software.
This scenario will have to include that software.
Yeah. So that's, and you just chroma key the color of the background.
Exactly.
So, but I'm not sure if that's what you want to do, but it's like a very high level thing.
But I love it. So maybe next time we can provide you a scenario of how to make that happen.
All right. Couple of last questions. Is placeholder for planning your lesson layout on your whiteboard? So yeah, placeholders are essentially elements that you put on your whiteboard in order to prepare a template. That's the basic scenario,
yes.
Right? So you want to have a template, you create and save a project, and then you just start with a set of things to put on the whiteboard. So once you put a placeholder there, you just tap on it and it will import the file without you having to access the menu in the toolbar.
So you can, let's say that's my template, put your document here, so that the text object and an arrow where to put the document. So I added a placeholder, it's just here. So that means that anyone that taps on this object will be able to add document, and it will be positioned within the frame of that placeholder. And the same you can have by adding placeholder for images, audio, and text objects. So if I do the placeholder for image, let's say here, and I want to have that proportions. Once you tap the placeholder, it brings you to images, and you can put in the image that you like. So yes, basically these elements are for building templates. So it's easier for students or anyone using the whiteboard for the first time to maneuver and to navigate through the menus, because there's no need to find it in the menu, you just tap the object.
All right, and the final question, what time is tomorrow's session?
It is, if I remember correctly, it's 8 a.m. Eastern time. But let me check it again in our webinar scheduler. So if you go to webinars, tomorrow's session is indeed 8 a.m. Eastern time.
Yep, 1 p.m. CET, 8 p.m. EDT, and 8 a.m. EDT, sorry, and 8 p.m. HKT. And so we try to cram as many time zones in the reasonable time.
We have a lot of demand from Hong Kong. That's why we do it early US time in order to allow those guys from Asia to connect to us as well. But there will be another edition of that webinar if there's an interest. So please, if you're able, connect to us tomorrow. If not, we're happy to have another session soon.
Yep. So
the session was a bit chaotic.
Yeah, so sorry about that. We didn't expect so many people to come, to be honest. And yeah, so if you are watching this on the YouTube, sorry that you couldn't join. We'll hopefully do something about this in the future. But this whole week has been overwhelming for us a bit, and yeah.
We're doing our best to explain everything, so I hope you like this and this nature of whiteboard, where so much happened today because there were so many of you connected, moving materials around. I hope that was not disturbing and you've learned what you needed. If not, you can send us email or just join another webinar that is tomorrow.
So Mido says, I've learned so much from listening and just by, oh, well, the chat is jumping. And watching you use it, headed to YouTube channel to learn more. Thanks for all the info. Good night. So yes, if you want to learn more about, and in a way like we did today, the YouTube channel and the webinars playlist is there for you. So see them, watch them, pick the one you like, and see if it helps you. And if not, we'll be here tomorrow, and we'll be happy to answer your questions on our social media channels or via support. So please reach out.
We all in it. We'll do our best to help you out, guys, in this tough period of time. So keep it up, stay safe, and
see you next time.
See you next time.
Thank you very much.
Thanks. Bye.